Okay, welcome to class this morning. We're going to stay on the mat for the entire practice and really work on some slow stretches and have a lovely meditation at the end of our practice. And I think for our centering today, we'll come to a seated cross-legged position, really becoming mindful of our posture in this seated position. So we want to make sure that we have our spine tall and extended, our chest open. We can gently rest our wrists on our knees. Our face is neutral. And our posture is attentive, not tight, not tense, and not lazy, just attentive and mindful. And we'll begin to start breathing in through the nose, out through the nose, resting the eyes. Starting to imagine energy coming up from the earth into your body as you inhale that breath. And imagine inhaling it all the way from the mat up through the crown of your head and exhaling from the crown of your head all the way back down to the mat. Pay attention to what you're bringing to the mat today. Maybe some tightness or tension, maybe some tiredness, possibly enthusiasm or motivation. Pay attention to what your body is feeling. Making special note of aches or pains or areas that need extra focus. Let's take our right hand and place it right in the center of our belly, right over our navel. Begin to feel the breath in the belly. Expanding and contracting. Slow and steady. Maybe using a little extra effort to push that belly out on the inhale. And to really contract it on the exhale. And now let's take our left hand and put it on our chest. And focus on the expansion of the chest on the inhale, the contraction on the exhale. And move that breath right through the chest. Possibly feeling your ribs expand, your spine lengthen. Fill the lungs in the chest completely and empty them completely on the exhale. Now taking that breath, let's concentrate and focus the breath in the throat, in the sinuses, and feel the cool air as you inhale and the warm air as you exhale. You might notice a different feeling in your mind, in your head, as you're getting more oxygen to the brain. Imagine that inhale bringing real relaxation, a lightness, a brightness. We'll take a couple more breaths here in the throat and the sinuses. Let's take a moment to add all three breaths together, from the belly to the chest to the sinuses, and exhaling from the throat to the chest to the belly. So inhaling belly, chest, throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly. Inhaling belly, chest, throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly. Let's continue this breath 3 or 4 more times. And notice the calming sensation you're feeling in your body. Okay, let's return our hands to our knees. Being mindful of our posture, we'll work on our neck and our shoulders for a moment here. So let's gaze over that left shoulder, really pushing the chin back behind the left shoulder, keeping our spine tall, our posture mindful, and creating space between the right ear and the right shoulder. And if you need to, you can drop that right shoulder down a little bit and push that chin back a little more and release. Inhale, look over the right shoulder. And again, create space between the left ear and the left shoulder. Really wringing out the vertebrae in the neck. And again, to the left. And one more time to the right. Okay, let's bring our face forward to neutral, taking our left hand, reaching over to the right side. Tilt your head to the left and pull the right shoulder down. So using a little bit of tension that you're creating with your hand against your head, tilting that head toward the left shoulder and pushing the right shoulder down. You should be able to feel a real nice stretch all along the right side of your neck. And again, you want to breathe softness into this area, not creating tension. Okay, let's release it. And we'll take our right hand over to the left side of our head. Same thing, using the lock from our hand to our head, tilting our head to the right side, pulling our left shoulder down. This is a good time to return to that breath from the belly to the chest, to the throat, the chest, the belly. We always want to remember yoga is mostly breathing with the side of movement. Connecting to the breath gives you the most benefit. Okay, we can release it. And let's just look left and right one more time. Kind of loosen up that stretch. Okay, let's take our chin to our chest and pull our shoulders to the wall behind us, tucking that chin in, really finding the stretch in the back of the neck and in through the rib cage as we tuck our chin. Remembering that breath, inhaling belly, chest, throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly. And let's take our chin to our left clavicle. And again, pulling down with our right shoulder, really trying to tuck the chin as close to the clavicle as we can. Breathing. And return chin to chest. Maybe finding yourself in this pose a little deeper. And then taking our chin to our right clavicle, pulling that left shoulder down a little bit. Inhaling belly, chest, throat. Exhaling throat, chest, belly. Okay, let's do a quick rotation clockwise, really fast. Just get some movement back in. And counterclockwise. You can hear lots of creaking and cracking in my neck as I do that. Okay, grabbing our right elbow with our left hand, using a lock between our elbow and our hand, pulling the arm across the chest, opening up into the right shoulder. Again, be mindful of your posture. We should be sitting tall. Inhaling belly, chest, throat. Exhaling throat, chest, belly. Really trying to connect with the breath today. And release it. Okay, grabbing the left elbow with the right hand, same thing, pulling to the right side, opening up into the shoulder joint. Keeping the spine tall and extended. Release. Right elbow goes up. And we're reaching with the left hand, trying to get that right elbow behind the head. So take some real stretching into that shoulder joint. You might find a place that will allow you to release a little bit farther, making slight adjustments. Release. This time our left elbow goes up, our right hand reaches over, and we're pulling a stretch into the shoulder joint. Being mindful to work to your edge where you're feeling work and slight discomfort, never to pain. Okay, let's release it. This time we'll clasp our fingers together behind our back, straightening the arms, opening the chest, really squeezing our shoulder blades together. You might feel some spinal adjustments here. Checking back into our breathing, up the spine and down the spine. Okay, release it. Lacing our fingers together in front, palms to the wall in front of us, tucking our chin to our chest, really creating space here between the shoulder blades. Okay, let's bring both of our elbows together, our palms together. And we're going to try and lift our fingertips up as high as we can get them. And release. Inhale one more time, elbows together, palms pressed together, reaching up. Keeping that tension between your palms and your elbows. And release. Now you can shake it out a little bit, and we'll rotate the wrists clockwise, counterclockwise. Get some movement moving into them. And let's take our knees and bring our right knee directly in front of our hips. And then cross over with the left knee. And again, find the form of this pose that's working for your body. And you may be comfortable keeping it up a little bit, or if you're able to, if you have the flexibility in your hips, you can bring those knees and stack them on top of each other. And let's just sit in this pose. Again, you can adjust yourself a little bit, and let's just sit in this pose, trying to get So we have our left knee on top of the right, and we're going to try and get the left sitting bone to the mat and see if we can release a little bit of tension into those hip joints, the hip flexors. And returning to the breath, inhaling belly, chest, throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly. See if you can bring complete relaxation and comfort into this pose. You'll notice those hip joints and the hip flexors really wanting to tighten, and with the breath, you just allow them to soften and relax. Okay, if it's in your practice, flexing from the hip, chest open and flat, coming to a forward fold over our knees. Finding the form of the pose that's working for your body. And then being mindful to push that left sitting bone into the mat. And you'll notice how much tension builds quickly in your hips again as you're leaning forward, using the breath, allowing those tight hips to relax and release, soften, and to become more at ease. Inhale to release the pose. And let's take our left knee up and bring our left foot to the mat. And we're going to do a spinal twist here. And we'll try and get the twist in the mid to upper spine. So let's keep our fingertips to our chin, our thumb to our chest. Extend the spine tall, open the chest. So there's a little bit of tension between the shoulder blades. And let's lean towards or twist toward the left side, keeping the chin aligned with the chest. Trying to push this left elbow back a little bit farther. And if you have good health in your low spine, you can drop the hand, hook the elbow to the side of the knee, and then deepen that stretch into the spine. Again, remembering that breath, inhaling belly, chest, throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly, and release it. Okay, cross our legs the other way. This time our left knee will come out in front of us, and we'll bring our right knee, stack it directly on top of the left if that's possible, or you can keep the foot up, the knee up. Find your edge, find that place where you're feeling the stress, the tension, the tightness, the work, but never the pain. So let's sit in this pose. And again, we're going to try and get our right sitting bone to the mat this time. And let's extend the spine, lengthening it out through the crown of the head, allowing the breath to release the tension in the hips, finding softness in our face, in our eyes, our jaw, possibly readjusting a little bit as your hips are releasing, and then flexing, hinging from the hip, bringing a flat chest over the knee, finding your edge, finding the work, never the pain, and using that breath again to bring softness and ease into the pose. Inhaling belly, chest, throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly. And on the exhale, you might find yourself falling more deeply into the pose, becoming a little more relaxed. See if you can pay attention to the right glute and the right hip and really focus on releasing into that hip. And we're taking these poses really slow so that we get the full benefit and really have time to pay attention to what's happening in our body. Inhale to release. Okay, we can bring this knee up and the right foot to the mat, aligning our chest and chin with our fingertips and our thumb, and twist to the right. Really pushing our right shoulder back. Remembering the breath. Being mindful of our posture. And anytime we go into these twisting poses where we're doing side or lateral movements with our spine, we always want to grow the spine before we go. So it's grow before you go. So lengthen it before we twist it. And if your low spine is healthy, go ahead and come into a deeper form of the pose. Possibly gazing beyond that right shoulder. Good job. Okay, let's take the soles of our feet and place them together as close to our hips as we can get them. We'll continue to open into our hips here for a moment. Lengthening the spine, checking back in with the breath, using the elbows to create resistance. Press our knees down, hinging from the hips with a flat spine coming forward into a butterfly pose. Using that exhale to soften the hip flexors, soften into the hip joints. And you can tuck your chin to your chest and feel that stretch come to the outside of the hips a little. And we'll come to star pose, grabbing your feet, elbows to the mat. Tucking the chin. And release. Inhale. Okay, let's straighten out our legs. Our knees might have been in a bent position for a while and need a little bit of flexion and mobility. And we'll work on some poses in the sitting position. Let's focus on staff position for just a moment, and we'll keep our heels flexed, knees pulled into the thigh, lengthening the spine, hands gently resting on the mat. The chest is open, slight tension between your shoulder blades, navel is tucked in. And let's sit here for 1 minute, focusing on the breath, inhaling from the belly to the chest, to the throat, exhaling throat, chest, belly. And I'll remind you of the key components of the pose. Remember, your heels are flexed, legs are straight, kneecaps pulled into the thigh, lifting your pelvic floor up as if it's on an elevator, lifting it to the 5th floor, navel tucked to the spine, chest is open, spine is tall and lengthened, face is forward, remembering the breath. We have just about 5 seconds left. And you can release from the pose, soften yourself a little bit. And we'll do a forward fold from this seated position. Extending the spine, inhaling as we're reaching up, and then flexing from the hip, flat spine, open chest, coming forward with the goal of getting our elbows to the mat. That helps give you a good visual to kind of keep us from hunching that back over. We really want the back flat as we come into this fold. So find the measure of the pose that's working for your body. And when you're supported with your hands, with your elbows, then you can allow yourself to soften and slightly round that spine into the pose. But only after you are supported. Never want to leave yourself pendulum swinging, hanging over, creating a lot of tension on that low spine. Always want to support the back. Flexing the heels, checking in to make sure our legs are straight, tucking the chin to the chest, feeling that stretch deeper into the legs, behind the knees as we tuck the chin. Really feeling some stretch in the back of the neck. Remembering the breath, belly, chest, throat, throat, chest, belly. With each exhale, find yourself falling a little bit deeper into the pose as you're able to soften and relax your muscles. Inhale to release. And then we'll reverse it, placing our fingertips to the wall behind us. We'll lift our hips, opening the chest. Squeezing those glutes in, reversing our forward fold. And release. Okay, we'll bring it to a forward fold one more time. Lengthen the spine, keep it nice and tall. Flexing the heels, kneecaps pulled into the thighs, reaching up, flexing forward from the hip, flat spine, reaching forward. Aiming to get those elbows to the mat, which allows you to keep your chest flat. We'll hold this for a minute. And the goal here, holding these poses longer, is to really dig deep into those joints that need stretching, and also to allow you a little more time to find that softness and ease in these poses that can create such tension. With each exhale, allow yourself to soften a little more. Remind your body that it's okay to relax. And these poses today, be mindful of keeping your eyes closed. It helps you to be more aware of what's happening inside your body and to not have visual distractions keeping you from paying attention to what your body is needing. Okay, we'll take a couple more deep breaths here. And inhaling to release out of the pose. Okay, we'll continue reversing that. Fingertips to the back wall. Opening the chest, lifting the hips. And release. Okay, slide your hips down, lying on your back, finding Shavasana for a brief moment here. And we'll work on our spine and continue stretching into the legs. So let's bring our arms straight out from our shoulders. Make sure that your body is in complete alignment so you can do some last little adjusting here. And let's cross our right ankle over the left ankle, lifting our right hip, twisting to the left, gazing over the right fingertips. Focusing on that breath again, pressing the right shoulder into the mat. And release. Inhale, twist one more. Pressing the right shoulder down. Exhale, release. Crossing the left ankle over the right ankle. Lifting the left hip to the right side, gazing over the left fingertips. Inhale, twist. And release. Inhale, twist. And release. Right heel on top of left toes. Same thing, twisting to the left, gazing to the right. Inhale, twist left, gaze right. Really press that right shoulder into the mat. Feel that stretch into the hip, the spine. Release. Inhale, twist one more time. And release. Left toes or left heel on top of right toes will twist to the right, gaze to the left. Inhale, twist right, gaze left. Keep that left shoulder pressed into the mat. And release. Inhale, twist. And release. Okay, our right foot comes to the inside of our left knee as if it's attached with a Velcro. Inhale, twist left, gaze right. Pointing our left toes, pressing our right shoulder to the mat, gazing over our right fingertips. Remembering that breath, inhaling belly, chest, throat, and exhale to release. One more time, inhale, twist. And you can reach down with your hand to your knee and press that knee into the mat a little bit farther this time. And release. Left leg attaches to the inside of the right hip. You might need to, or the right knee might need to adjust your hips a little. Inhale, twist to the right, gaze to the left. Right toes are pointed, left shoulder pressed to the mat. And release. Inhale, twist. And release. This time our right foot crosses over the left knee and we'll twist to the left, gaze to the right, and our right foot will slide out from under the knee a little bit as we twist. Inhale, twist left, gaze right. Point the left toes. Press the right shoulder into the mat. Reach down and grab that knee if you're able. And really open up into the hip, the spine, the chest, and release. One more time, twist left. See if you can find yourself a little bit farther into the pose. Left toes pointed, left hand pressing right knee down, right shoulder into the mat. Breathing from the belly to the chest to the throat. Exhale to release. Same thing, left side. Left foot crosses over the right. We'll twist to the right, gaze to the left. Inhale, twist right, gaze left. Point the right toes. Press the left shoulder into the mat. And if you're able, reach down and grab that knee. And press it into the mat a little bit farther. And release. Inhale, twist. Pressing the left shoulder to the mat, right toes are pointed, gazing over the left, really pressing that knee down. And release. Okay, make sure your body is still in alignment. This time we'll raise a straight right leg. See if we could get it coming straight out from the hip. And we'll cross this over to the left side, gaze to the right. Inhale, cross it over. We'll gaze over our right fingertips, pointing our left toes. And if you're able, reach down and grab those toes. Exhale to release. And we'll cross it over one more time. Inhale, cross. You might find yourself a little farther into the pose this time. Really pressing that right shoulder down, pointing the left toes, trying to straighten that right leg, gazing over the right fingertips, softening the face, checking back into the breath, and release the heel to the ceiling. And we'll take 1 minute to lower our heel to the ground. Keeping that right knee pulled into the right thigh. Right heel is flexed. Finding softness in the face. Our eyes are closed. Using that breath to create ease as we lower the leg. We're about halfway there. And if you're at the mat, rest in Shavasana for a moment. Okay, relax. Resting in Shavasana for just a few breaths here. Relaxing the entire body. Maybe noticing the energy flow in your body right now in the middle of the practice. Okay, this time we'll bring our left leg straight up from the hip. Heel is flexed. And our arms are straight out from our shoulders. And we'll cross our left leg over to the right side. Inhale, twist. And again, let's check into our body. We have our right toes pointed, left shoulder pressed to the mat, gazing over our left fingertips. And if you're able, reach down and grab your toes. Softening the face. Exhaling to release, and we'll do one more time. Inhale, twist to the right, gaze to the left. Straighten the right leg, working to straighten that left leg, gazing over our left fingertips. And if you have your hands to your toes, see if you can lift those toes a little bit higher, deepening that stretch. One more breath. Exhale, release. And we'll take 1 minute to lower this heel to the floor. Keeping the heel in alignment with the hip. Working to engage that core, tucking the navel to the spine. Eyes are closed. Breathing up the spine, through the crown of the head, down the spine to the base of the spine. Okay, we have about 5 seconds left. It was a long 5 seconds. Okay, relax in Shavasana for a moment here. We'll do one more that opens into the hips, and I'll show the modifications if so that you could make it work more towards what your body is able to do. So reaching down with our right hand to the arch of our right foot. You can just feel that stretch a little bit. If you want to, you can pull that foot a little bit closer to your chest and stretch a little bit deeper into that hip. And then work towards getting the right leg straight. And again, with the left arm straight out from the shoulder, reaching to the arch of the right foot, straightening the right leg as straight as possible. We'll bring that leg out to the side. You'll notice that your left hip wants to raise in this pose. And it's more important to keep that left hip pressed into the mat than to get this right leg out farther into the pose. One more breath and we'll release it. Okay, release it back up. And if your wrist is feeling some tension or your ankle, you can rotate. Again, we'll reach down to the arch of the foot, straightening the leg as much as possible, pressing that left hip into the mat, opening the right hip by bringing the right leg straight out to the side. You might be able to go a little bit deeper into the pose on this second time. A lot of times your body just needs to know that it's safe to release. And exhale to release. Lowering our right hand and our right foot back to the mat. Nice work. Okay, same thing with the left. Let's reach down with our left hand to the arch of the left foot. And you can pull that knee in a little bit closer, really digging deep into this hip flexor, starting to open it up, wake it up, and then work to straighten the leg. And our right arm is coming out from the shoulder, straightening this left leg, starting to bring it out to the left side, keeping the right hip pressed to the mat. My left side is much less flexible than the right side. And I just try and pay attention to that, being a little bit compassionate, allowing it to take its time to relax. And again, you may have your left leg with a bend in it, working towards straightening it. And we'll exhale to release. Rotating the ankle, the wrist. There's a lot of tension that can build in the wrist, especially in this pose. Okay, working to straighten that left leg again. Pressing the right hip into the mat, the right shoulder into the mat, opening this left leg out to the side. Really digging deep into the hip flexor here. Finding softness in your face. I know this is painful. One more breath here. And exhale to release. And lower our left arm and our left leg together. Okay, it might feel nice for you to bring your knees into your chest, to do a chest press, a knee press. And also bring your chin to knees. And I'd like to work on a little inversion work for just a moment here. So coming back to your Shavasana, finding relaxation in your body again. Breathing in belly, chest, throat. Exhaling throat, chest, belly. Let's come to a waterfall pose. Arch straight, come up. Placing the palms to the side of our hips. And hold strength in this pose. Trying to soften the muscles in the face. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. The hands are gently resting to the sides of our hips. Kneecaps pulled into the thighs. Heels are flexed. Navel tucked in to the spine. Really push that navel into the spine and feel the strength happening and the work that's happening in your stomach as you're doing that. Okay, you can release it and soften those legs a little bit. We're going to create a saddle for our hips to come up into, and this may be a challenge to get up into, so you can work with your body to get up into this saddle pose. For me, it works best if I use my hands to lift my hips. Otherwise, if I just roll up into this, it causes quite a bit of pressure in my low spine. So we want to just bring those elbows closer together if we're able. And if this is not in your practice, stay in waterfall pose. We want to rest here for just a moment and get this blood flow coming into a different direction. Finding ease and relaxation in the pose. And then slowly release out of it, and we'll come back up into the pose one more time. You can rest and relax, shake out your arms a little bit. Again, we're creating a saddle with our palms for our hips to rest in, and the weight of our body just rests right into those palms. Okay, you can lift those hips up. You can work a little bit if you're up into the pose in trying to get your elbows a little closer together. And always be careful in inversions that you keep your chin aligned with your chest. You never want to look side to side, creating more stress and tension for your neck. So we're finding that soft breath, closing our eyes if we're able. And again, if lifting your hips is not in your practice yet, finding a nice waterfall pose is a perfect alternative. Okay, from this pose, I'm going to bring my legs straight and a little bit farther over my head, rolling up a little farther onto my shoulders. And it's difficult to know where the class members are with this since the cameras are turned off. So just pay attention to your body and find your edge. And if you're able to bring those feet to the floor, again, stretching into the hips, the back of the legs, the neck, the spine. And you could lower your hands. And then bring your arms up. And this will remind you of when you were a kid, bringing your knees to your ears. And you can reach your feet and pull them down a little bit more. Okay, straightening the legs coming out of the pose. Lowering your hips slowly. And this is also a really great pose or a flow to help your spine adjust. I can usually feel my vertebrae coming into alignment. And from waterfall pose, we'll continue lowering our legs, flexing the heels, engaging the core. And returning to Shavasana, relaxing, eyes are closed, feeling your body, paying attention to the energy flowing in your body. Let's take one more nice breath. Then we'll come to a kneeling position. And we'll do a little bit of work on camel and a few more hip opening exercises as we're finishing up our practice. So coming to our knees, extending the spine, we're going to take our palms and bring them around and press them into our back pockets in a modified camel. So spine extended, finding some height here, opening the chest, inhaling as we lift our arms and bring them around to our back pockets and slide them into our back pockets, pressing in, pushing into the hips, opening through the pelvis, squeezing those elbows together, opening the chest, and lifting the chin. Breathing deeply and releasing it. Pulling those hands out, shaking them out, coming into extended puppy with our booties in the air here. Or we can lower those hips a little bit into extended baby pose. And we'll lift back up to our knees for one more modified camel. Okay, extend the spine, open the chest. Inhale, sliding our palms up, behind, sliding them down into the back pocket, pressing our hips forward, squeezing the glutes, really putting pressure in between our shoulder blades, squeezing them together, trying to get our elbows closer, pressing into the hips, raising the chin. and release. Okay, let's move our knees out a little bit farther apart here. And we'll slide our hips down into the space between our heels, reaching out in front of us, using a little bit of contact with the floor to stretch those arms forward, lowering the hips between the heels. And if you're able, bringing that forehead to the mat for a little centering and grounding. Lifting up to release. Rotating our wrists around so the inside of our forearm is facing the wall in front of us. And we'll move our knees out a little bit farther apart. Coming into a lion pose. Finding the measure of this pose that works for you. If it's not in your practice to have your knees as far apart, then you'll be up a little bit farther, up a little bit higher into the pose. Lifting the chin, opening into the chest and throat. And let's rotate our hands back so our fingertips are facing the wall in front of us. And we'll work on a frog pose, trying to get those knees a little bit farther apart. And you can rotate the ankle around a little bit more like a frog foot and come down to our forearms. Again, finding the measure of the pose that fits your body. Releasing into the hips. One more breath here. And lifting up out of the pose, bringing the knees closer together. We can bring the balls of our feet together, and we'll bring our forehead to the mat and reach behind, grabbing our heels for a rabbit pose. And on the rabbit pose, we'll create a lock between our heels and our hands, lifting our spine up, pulling space between our shoulder blades. Breathing into the pose. Okay, and one last pose. We'll bring our forearms to the mat for a dolphin pose. And you can lock your fingers together. You could keep them down to the mat. We'll lift our legs straight. Hips come into the, up towards the ceiling. And you can bring yourself a little bit closer into this pose. Stretching out your calves. You can bring the top of your head to the mat and walk a little bit closer into the pose. Trying to lower those heels, getting some good stretch in the back of the calves. And releasing to our knees, coming up to a table pose. For our last little stretch here, doing some cat-cow work. In or exhale to our cat, pulling space between our shoulder blades. Inhaling, opening up to cow. Exhaling, lifting, cat. Inhale, opening to cow. Good job. Hopefully we got all of the major muscle groups and joints really stretched out today. And I think for our last relaxation here, we'll do Yoga Mudra. And again, this will open up into the hips, and it's also a pose of humility and surrender. And while we're in this pose, I would like you to consider today your intention for your week, how you want to show up this week. What are the things that you want to work on, the focus that you want to have, maybe emotional, spiritual, relational ideas that you have that will come to you during this last relaxation. And we'll just hold it for 3 minutes and release out of it for the last namaste. So finding your cross-leg position, settling your hips in, squaring them up so that they're well balanced, extending the spine, opening the chest, reaching around behind your back. Right hand wraps around the left wrist and flexing from the hip with a flat spine, bringing yourself forward and gently easing yourself into the pose. And we'll hold the pose for 3 minutes. Eyes are closed, finding complete ease in this pose. Returning to the breath if the mind begins to wander. But take this time to imagine yourself showing up this week, how you intend to show up. Maybe you have difficult assignments this week or projects. Imagine the most healthy version of yourself showing up this week. Okay, inhale to release from the pose. Bringing your wrists to rest on your knees. Finding ease in the pose. Taking a last few mindful breaths. And returning the hands to heart center. My wish for you today is to enjoy the fathers in your life, the father figures, the relationships that you have that are so fulfilling. Namaste. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on Tuesday.